Oh, we haven't been for a ride for a while. Let's say we take a ride and have a little chat. I'm having a hard time spending time in the house. Every time I turn around, I'm expecting the dog to be there. And when I realize she's not, well, you know what happens. I would like to take a moment, though, and thank everyone for their kind words and well wishes. It means more to me than you'll ever know. Sure, she was a pain in the ass. I spent more than my share of time complaining about her. But she was my pain in the ass, and that makes it okay. It's hard to lose a friend, even if that friend is a pain in the ass pit bull that nobody else wanted because they couldn't handle it. It's almost as hard as watching your country go down the tubes, adopting a bunch of policies that go against the freedoms that we all take for granted, and seeing large swaths of people just voluntarily give up their rights for what they perceive as safety. So here's the hard lesson we're probably all going to have to learn as history repeats itself before our very eyes. The government is not our friend unless it encourages more freedom and more liberties. And I don't know how many of you have noticed, but that's certainly not the case these days. So let me point out some obvious truth that sooner or later we're all going to have to acknowledge and have the courage to talk about. Or this country is going to die just like a sick dog who isn't able to make it to the vet for whatever reason. Those who claim to be woke aren't woke, they're brainwashed. Those who follow the trends that celebrities and politicians and corporations try and set are stupid. They voluntarily give up their freedom of choice by following along with what those who are popular or have power or whatever say to do. And it's counterproductive for a free society. People who follow that ideology are not only a danger to others, they're a danger to themselves. Because eventually, things are going to decay to a point where it isn't fixable, where things start to collapse all around everyone, even those that think they're running the show. For instance, something that's all the rage with the left and the Democrats, critical race theory. It's nothing but a new excuse for racism. To blame others for someone else's own shortcomings or failures in a free society. It promotes bigotry, it promotes racism, and it definitely is all about segregation. And you can't promote one color over another and not call it racism, but that's what's being done right in front of our faces and under our noses. And it's not a healthy thing, and it won't end up well, because history has already been there and proven that that type of an ideology is downright dangerous, if not deadly. The old guy that I used to look after used to tell me stories of what it was like in Germany before Hitler rose to power, and how things eroded and how quickly it happened as he did, and what went on inside of Germany during World War II. The stories that he told were horrifying. And I often wondered how it was that he ever managed to survive it, because it was horrible, the things that he witnessed and had to go through and literally endure on a daily basis, because people weren't brave enough to speak out against what was happening right in front of their faces, even though they knew eventually where it was going to end up. So here's the deal. The sun is literally setting on our country and our freedom, if we allow it. If we're not willing to use our voices and what little bit of freedoms we still happen to maintain, it'll go down and disappear all the quicker. It's something that Helmut said to me before he died that really got my attention as to what's going on. He said how much he loved this country and how there was no way in hell what he experienced when he was younger could ever happen here. But before he finally passed, he admitted that he thought he was wrong about that, and that this country, if not the world, was on the same path that he'd already traveled, that he'd seen. And it made him really sad, because he was proud to have immigrated to the United States. He was proud to be an American citizen. And especially during the end of the Obama administration, he pointed out more and more similarities that were popping up to what he'd already experienced. And it all started with promoting one group over another, suppressing certain people's voices and raising up others. Then it moved on to language, what you could say, what you couldn't say, what you could read, what you couldn't read, and so forth and so on. And as things progressed, the freedom of the people became less and less, until there was no freedom at all. They were slaves to the party, and there was no escaping it, except for death. And unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, unless we're willing to pull our heads out of our asses and use our voices and what little freedoms we have left, that's exactly where we're heading.